but I just want to show you my system. So I decided I was going to go with the Flexmax Outback Flex 80 charge controllers, and then I went with a 2500 watts 24 volt system. So this is continuous 2500, and then surge 4000, but I don't think it go quite that high. You know, probably 1500 to 2000 continuous, and maybe 3000 surge, because all of this Chinese inverter doesn't really have true rating. So at first I was going to go with a 12 volt battery. I was going to try it out just to go with a 12 volt setup and see if it's going to work. But then, you know, I started looking into it. Maybe it wasn't the best ideal, because I thought it was going to, the window air conditioner is going to surge a lot when it first started up. So I went with a 24 volt system. So that's what I did. I went with a 24 volt just so that the voltage doesn't drop too low upon startup. So here's my battery bank. Again, at first I was only going to use two batteries, two 12 volt, to do a 24 volt system. But then I found, you know, locally some guy, you know, was selling batteries, and they're new, but they are cosmetically flawed batteries. The case right here, you can see this one is the good one, the original one, which had the handle and everything on the casing. This one, no handles, so there's a cosmetics flaw on the top plate, so that's why they sell it a lot cheaper. So I got these AGM 12 volt 105 amp hour. So these are sealed. That's the other reason why I went with these, because you don't have to maintenance, no maintenance and no venting. So I had, as you see, I have this in this one in series, this one in series, and then these two are in parallels. So it gave me 210 amp hours at 24 volt. And here I will show you my my solar setup. We're in the garage right now, so we open this up, go outside. Here's my solar setup. So basically just four 310 watt panel each. Two of them is in series and then parallels together to get me 1200 rated watts. That will go into this combiner box, but it's actually just a regular AC air conditioner disconnect box. So I make it into a combiner box. I turn it to a combiner box plus a disconnect box. So I'll show you that. Okay, so here's the positive for the solar going in. Okay, and then so that, because there's two terminals, right? And then this one, there's a negative solar coming in, and then as you can see, they're combined together. So this one's combined together, and then here's the out. So here's the out. I also have dual wire. Dual wire. This one is 12 gauge. I think this one is 14 or 16 gauge, and then I just parallel them together, and it comes out. And if I want to disconnect my solar, I just pull this and then disconnect the solars. So PV going in, positive. As I told you before, I had two wire. One is a 10 gauge, and then a 14 or 16 gauge tied together in parallels. So that's probably not too cold, right? You're not supposed to have a black wire as a positive, whatever, but goes into this maxi fuse. When I first start building my system, I look at the solar fuse and all that fuse used for solar. They are super expensive, like $50 to $120 for a fuse, and I thought that was stupid. You know, an off-grid system is already more expensive than an on-grid, And if you have to spend all your money on freaking wire and fuses, you know, might as well just not have a solar system at all, because it won't, economically, it will be just stupid. So I went on eBay and I got me some of these maxi fuse, and I think they're mostly used for car audio and RV and stuff like that. But you know, so far they work. I mean, well, I haven't blown a fuse yet, so I'm really not sure if they gonna work or not, and I don't planning on testing that out. So here solar going in. I put this on 20 amps because each of those panels out there would do about 8.5 amps max, and there's 4 of them. 2 of them's in series, 2 set of them's in parallel, so they're gonna output a maximum of about 80 volts, 15 or 16 amps. I just put it on a 20 amps right there going into the Outback. Then from the Outback, these 2 terminals you see out here, they come down. The negative one is right here. Okay, this is the negative. Goes into this shunt for my meters, my voltage meter up there. I'll show you that later. It goes up. This is the negative. Goes down, going to the negative side of the battery. Okay. And then here's the positive. Okay, goes out, goes over here. Go to a 60 amps fuse. This one's the fuse in between. This is the fuse for the battery to the charge controllers. This is a Flexmax 80. Output 80, but my solar would only probably output, you know, a maximum of 16. I think about 40 amps or so. So I have this on 60, but I might change it to a 40 amps, but we'll see. So it goes into the positive. So this is the positive side. So you want to fuse the positive side. So it goes into this, what do you call this? Quick disconnect buttons or whatever. Battery disconnect or whatever. But you know, this one's $25. I figure, well, I'm gonna just use it 1 buttons for both the inverter, to turn off the inverter and the charge controller from the battery at the same time. So this is how I wire it. Charge controller positive going in, inverter positive going into this joint right here on the switch. Here's the positive of the battery. Okay, so if I turn the switch off, it disconnected the positive from both of the inverter and the charge controller, which in turn disconnected from the battery completely. So here I have a 100 amps fuse still on the positive going to the inverter, right? So, and then the negative of the inverters go back down here to the side of the charge controller and get tied into the charge controllers. I went to Home Depot and I bought this 2 gauge. And I think I could have went with 4 gauge just fine, to save a little bit of money. Because ultimately my system, I made it so that with an intention of not using much of the battery at all. Only using the battery to stabilize the voltage. Or, you know, maybe a clouds go by, it's going to use a little bit out of the battery. But I was planning to mostly use my solar to power my air conditioners and my other stuff. So only using it when the sun is up. And it may be different for you guys, but here, for me in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, you know, the best thing that we have here, it's not, you know, besides it's freaking hot, that we have, you know, 320 days of sunny, pretty much every day. When it's freaking hot, you can bet you know, there's a sun shining. So the other thing is, you know, it's shining for like at least 11 hours a day. Suns come up at 6:30, don't come down, you know, doesn't come back down until like 7 or 8 at night. So I got these 2 voltage and amperage meter from Amazon, and here's the shunt. They each come with their own 100 amp shunt, but I just use the same one for both meters. So the reason why I have both meters, because the voltage is the same. The positive, measuring the voltage going to the positive terminal, the brown one right here, which is negative, going to the negative side of the battery. And then you have two wires, the red and the blue. Depending on the direction of these two wires, it will either measure the current that's going in or going out of the battery. So I have this two wire goes in to this this meter right here in the top. This one will measure the current that's coming out of the battery, because I want to know how much am I using out of the battery, and then how much I'm taking out of how much watt hour am I taking out of the battery right here. So right here is on the top. Let me turn on the backlit. Okay, right here showed the voltage. Right here it's showing wattage, how much is being pulled out of the battery. So basically multiply that two number, the amperage and the voltage, to get you the wattage. And right here it tells you the total watt hours that you've taken out of the battery. Now these one have a memory, so if the power goes out or the battery's disconnected, it will remember the last numbers. So this number is basically how much watts hour I have been pulling out of my battery, seeing the first, when I started up my system about, I would say about 14 days ago. It has pulled 2,700 watts hours. That's about 2.7 kilowatts, DC. And then the bottom meters, I reverse. So the voltage is the same, the voltage measuring the same, red's going in, brown going in, but that blue and the yellow cable, I reverse it going into the bottom one. This one will tell, as right now you see the power going into the battery is 0, is because right now my low, or my air conditioner is running right now, and it's pulling power from the battery right now. As you can see right here, right now it's pulling 177 watts out of the battery right now. The solar right now is giving me 380 watts, 57 volts, 380 watts. So that gave me a total of about 550 watts, 600 watts to power my 6,000 BTU window air conditioners. That's because right now it's still early. It's only about 7:30 in the morning, and the sun is really not, it's still at a very slanted angle. So the maximum, but as you see, 7:30 in the morning, and my system, my 1,200 watts rated polycrystalline, it's already outputting, almost 400 watts. Within the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it will output about 500 to 550 watts, and then it won't use any more out of my battery. And then at about 9 o'clock morning here, it'll output about 700 watts, and then so my solar using about 550 watts, so the rest, 100 to 150 watts, it's going to go back into my battery. That's when I'll see this meter going up. And this is the total amount of energy it has put in. So I'm trying to keep this number lower than this number. So this number is putting into the battery, this number is taken out of the battery. So at the moment, taking out total, it's 2,700. Putting into the battery is about 2,800. So I'm still putting more, I had been putting more power back into the battery than I have taken out. That's the reason I went with the off-grid, or because I had to go with an off-grid, but I don't want to use my battery that much. So hopefully I can extend the life of this battery to 7 to 8 years instead of the 5 years or so. I almost forgot to show you guys these right here. Would have cost me at least $15 to $20 per cable to buy to buy the lugs, the cable lugs, and you know the cables. But I figure it's such short distance, and the battery line up perfectly. Why do I want cable versus the? So these are just copper tubing you can get from the hardware store. I believe they're 3/4 or no, I'm sorry, 1/2 inch copper tubing, and I just use my vise to clamps down one side, and I have a little trick to use a vise but still keeping the bottom flat. Okay, so just copper tubing, and then I put a heat shrink, get some really big black heat shrink, put it over them, and then okay guys, so here's my 6000 LG BTU window air conditioner. Had to install in the window. Didn't use the stock plastic thing because that was not good. You can still feel the heat coming in, and there's a bunch of holes and stuff like that. So I decided to go with, you know, with some scrap MDF that I have, almost an inch thick, going to the side, and then I silicones all over the edge, so it's 100% sealed. There's no hole or nothing. Still need to paint it, you know, the same color as the house, so, or the white, same color as the air conditioner, make it look better. But this is the 6000 BTU window air conditioner from LG, and I was surprised when I first got it that when it first started up, it does not surge, or at least to the kilowatts meter that I have. There's a chance that it might not. It might be the meter that's not fast enough to register the surge on when it first started up. Temps going in about 69 degrees, 70 degree temps going in. The vent out it's about 47, 49, 48. So you've seen the sub panel out in the garage, right? So that this outlet right here, that's what's connected to the sub panel out there. So I have to run, you know, like 60 foot of wiring to the house, so to be completely isolated from the utility grid. So these are utility outlets. Put my outlets, my solar outlets right next to this, and then I also put another outlets over here. This is closer to on the kitchen counters. Still need to paint it, touch-ups. So here's the temp. The outlets I put is in my laundry room, and you probably wouldn't believe me this either, but I could run my air conditioner at the same time of running my washing machine. My Samsung washing machine. So it is a new washing machine, so it uses very little energy. I put it on the kilowatts, and when it's washing the clothes, it's actually only using about 90 watts to 120 watts when it's spinning around and washing the clothes. And then when it's actually spinning to dry the clothes, it's actually using about 400 to 450 watts. So a little bit less than the window air conditioner. So we wash our clothes when it's like 11 a.m. or, you know, noontime, when the sun's directly over the solar. That's when my solar, my solar panel would do about 900 watts. And then, you know, that's my air conditioner is using about 500 and 550 watts. And this thing using about 100 to 400 watts. But the 400 watts only lasted about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So that's still within 900 watts. I'm still not using battery power coming out of battery at all, just all solars. But I can do that only for about maybe from 12 to 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Then the solar would drop back and only producing about 500, 550 watts, only enough for the while I was talking to you guys, solar is picking up 560 watts now. So as you can see, comes out that we're only using 6.5 watts out of the battery. Now we're showing 0. It's because the solar has picked up to 570 watts. So now we are using 0 power out of battery, and we're putting 5 watts into the battery. So as you see, we're putting in 0.26 amps into the battery. That's about 7 watts going to the battery. So this is now power going into the battery, and now it's only 8:15. The thing was 8:15 in the morning. So we are already putting power back into the battery. 570 watts. Okay, so here's some number update after running the my window air conditioner for 10 hours yesterday. So this is the current, so we'll go yesterday and see what happened. So that's today, this morning, and then let's see, so that's yesterday. So the maximum was output was 840 watts, a total of 6.8 kilowatts, 253 amps hours. Let's see, and then it went into absorption for 1 hour, and it float 4 hours. So it's actually was, you know, for 4 hours, you know, it's only floating. So I'm really not maximizing my my power. I'm actually not, you know, able to use all of the power that it could generate because the battery was fully charged for 4 hours yesterday. And then during the peak times, you know, between 11 a.m. to like 2 p.m., it can output way more than what my window air conditioner used. That's the thing with off-grid system. You can't, you know, if your battery is full and your load is not pulling a lot of, you know, maximum power coming out of your solar, then your charge controller just disconnected and won't output the maximum power of solar because it doesn't have anywhere to go. So that's the downside of an off-grid system. So I've been trying to find more and more stuff, you know, to plug it into the wall during the high output for the solar. Let's see. And see, right now it's 7:30 in the morning, and it is going to absorbing 340 watts. So it's right now it's trying to absorb the battery already. I don't have the window air conditioner running right now, but I'm going to go in and turn it on right now. Other than that, here is the meter. So as you can see, so far up until now I've been pulling, you know, 3,400 watts, so 3.4 kilowatts out of the battery. I put in 3,900 watts, 3.9 kilowatts into the battery. So still more than I pulling out of the battery, but this has been for the past total for the past 13 days or 14 days. So I've only using you know, 3.4 kilowatts out of my battery bank for a total of 13-14 days. Guys, so it is noon time right now, 12 o'clock, and the sun is pretty much let's see, right directly overhead, right on top of the solar, and my system is putting out, let's see, right now 900 watts, so coming in 57.8 volt, 16.3 amps. And then out is my battery is pretty much close to being full right now, 27.9, you know, 32 amps, 900 watts. So I have my air conditioner running, my 6,000 BTU air conditioner in there running with the with a tower fan and charging a bunch of my cell phone and tablets inside. So it's probably using around 600 to maybe 700 watts AC. And the meter right here, not using anything out of my batteries. It's 0. And then down here it's putting in 215 watts to my battery right now. So it's putting 7.9 amps to my battery right now. So it's actually charging the battery with 220 watts, and the rest go to the my appliance in there. So